right, so today we're going to be looking at the connection between obesity and breast cancer.
Yeah.
You've sent us a ton of stuff on this.
Uh-huh.
Medical journals, news articles, research from Taiwan.
Yeah.
So we're going to help you make sense of it all.
Absolutely.
Kind of get to the heart of what's going on here.
It's a really important topic, and unfortunately, it's more relevant than ever.
Yeah.
You know, we're in the middle of this global obesity epidemic,
Right.
and the impact of it is just huge.
Yeah, that Lancet report that you sent,
Yeah.
that was really eye-opening.
Yes.
So it said that since 1990, adult obesity has more than doubled globally.
It's incredible.
I know.
Yeah.
And for kids and teens,
Yeah.
it's tripled.
It's tripled. Yeah.
That's 2.7 billion people.
It's hard to even fathom that number.
I know.
But yeah, that's how many people are dealing with obesity.
Right. And it's not just a personal health issue, it's a societal issue.
Absolutely. And the economic burden is massive.
Yeah.
We're talking about $1.2 trillion in global healthcare costs every single year
Gee.
because of issues related to obesity.
So it's not just about like fitting into your genes, you know?
No, it's way beyond that.
This is a serious public health problem.
Absolutely a major public health concern.
Yeah. So let's get into the cancer connection.
Okay.
So we know that obesity is unhealthy,
Right.
but how does it specifically impact breast cancer risk?
Well, the link is undeniable.
Okay.
20% of all new cancer diagnoses
Wow.
and cancer deaths are linked to obesity.
That's a lot.
It is. Yeah. And when we really zoom in on breast cancer specifically, it gets even more concerning.
So give us the hard facts here.
Sure.
What's the increase in risk?
So for women after menopause,
Okay.
being obese
Yeah.
increases their risk of breast cancer by 30 to 50%.
That's significant.
It really is. But here's what a lot of people don't realize.
Okay.
Regardless of whether a woman has gone through menopause or not,
Uh-huh.
obesity makes breast cancer more aggressive.
Oh, wow.
It increases the chances of it coming back
Yeah.
and increases the chance of dying from it.
So it's not just getting it.
Right.
It's like how it progresses.
It's the whole picture.
And I remember one of the sources mentioned a really stark number
Yeah.
about people with severe obesity.
You're probably thinking about the study
Yeah.
that found that individuals with a BMI over 40,
Okay.
which is what we call heavy obesity,
Right. Yeah.
they have triple the risk of dying from breast cancer
Wow.
compared to lean individuals
Jeez.
with a BMI under 20.5.
That's a huge difference.
It's massive.
Yeah.
Triple the risk.
So we know the statistics. They're grim.
They are.
But I think what a lot of people want to know is,
Yeah.
how does this happen?
Right.
What's going on in the body that makes this such a risk factor?
Oh, it all comes down to a really complex interplay of factors.
Yeah.
But one of the key players here is what we call dysfunctional fat cells.
Hold on.
Yeah.
Dysfunctional fat cell.
Yeah.
I thought fat was just fat.
I know that's a really common misconception,
Okay.
but there's actually good fat and bad fat.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so the bad kind, the white fat, is what most of us think of.
Okay.
It just stores energy.
Right.
And then there's brown fat, which is the good kind,
Okay.
which actually burns energy to generate heat.
Interesting.
And then there's even a newer good guy on the scene,
Okay.
beige fat.
Beige fat. Okay.
And that can actually convert to brown fat and boost your metabolism.
So basically, while the bad white fat is storing energy,
Yeah,
the good brown and beige fat is burning it.
that's right.
And obesity throws that whole system off.
Exactly.
Ah.
When you have too much of that white fat,
Mm-hmm.
especially the kind that surrounds your organs,
Yeah.
it leads to this cascade of negative effects.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it triggers chronic inflammation throughout your body.
Right.
It's almost like a low-grade fire that never goes out.
Oh, jeez.
And then these dysfunctional white fat cells,
yeah.
they also release these substances that actually fuel tumor growth.
So it's like they're feeding the cancer cells.
Exactly. It's like they're fertilizing them.
Wow.
Yeah.
So it's not just the fat itself.
What?
It's what the fat is doing to the rest of the body.
Exactly.
And it's impacting the environment around the tumor.
Precisely. And then on top of all of that,
Yeah.
there's also the issue of how obesity changes the physical structure of the breast tissue itself.
So it actually changes the structure.
It does, yeah. It leads to an increase in these cells called myofibroblasts.
Okay.
And they make the breast tissue stiffer.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and that stiffer environment makes it easier for the cancer to take hold and spread.
So it's kind of like priming it.
In a way,
Yeah.
yeah, it's creating a more hospitable environment for the cancer.
Okay, so this is all starting to make more sense.
Could.
But it is complicated.
It is complex.
Is there anything else about these fat cells
Yeah.
that's important to understand?
What gets even more interesting when those white fat cells get too close to the cancer cells.
Oh, okay.
They undergo this kind of crazy transformation,
Oh.
and they become what we call cancer-associated adipocytes,
What?
or CAA.
CAAs.
Yeah.
So they're like corrupted by the cancer.
That's a good way to put it. Essentially, they're no longer just storing energy.
Right.
They're actively working for the cancer.
Wow.
Yeah, they start releasing even more factors that help the tumor grow
Oh, geez.
and become more aggressive.
So it's like the cancer is hijacking the fat cells
Exactly.
and turning them into its own little army.
It's a pretty insidious process.
Yeah, so this is all pretty grim.
Yeah,
Is there any good news here?
there is.
Okay, good.
Yeah, one of the reasons that this research is so important
Hmm.
is because it's giving scientists targets for new therapies.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and one of the sources that you sent,
Yeah.
the research from Taiwan,
Uh-huh.
this is particularly exciting.
Okay.
It's about a protein called MCT2.
Okay. Remind me what MCT2 does.
Sure. So think of it as a gateway on the surface of breast cancer cells.
Okay.
And this gateway allows a molecule called beta-hydroxybutyrate to enter the cancer cell
And where does this beta-hydroxybutyrate come from?
from the fat cells.
Oh, so the fat cells are sending a delivery to the cancer.
Exactly. They're sending fuel directly to the cancer.
And this is what helps it grow and become more aggressive.
That's right. Once inside the cancer cells, that beta-hydroxybutyrate activates genes that promote tumor growth.
So what Dr. Chang Chin-chien and his team found
Yeah,
was a way to block this fuel line
that's exactly right.
to the cancer.
Yeah, they're looking at ways to target MCT2.
That's huge.
It is, yeah. It's a really promising avenue for new breast cancer treatments.
So there's hope on the horizon.
There is,
Okay, yeah.
in terms of treatment at least.
But obviously there's so much more to this story.
Absolutely.
What else should we be thinking about when it comes to obesity and breast cancer?
Well, the story doesn't end at the cellular level.
Right.
We also have to consider the genetic factors at play,
Okay.
especially in people who are obese and have breast cancer.
So our genes can make us more or less susceptible
That's right.
to these negative effects.
Yeah. And even if two people have the same amount of excess weight,
Yeah.
their genes might determine how that weight impacts their cancer risk and their treatment outcome.
Wow. So it's really getting personalized.
It is, and there's some recent research that was published in Nature Genetics,
Okay.
and it provides some really interesting insights into this.
Okay.
Researchers at Sloan Kettering Cancer Center found that obese breast cancer patients, they tend to have specific genetic mutations
Right.
that make them less responsive to certain treatments.
So it's not just about having breast cancer and being obese.
Right.
It's about your specific genetic makeup.
Exactly, and how that interacts with your weight.
Wow, this is getting incredibly personalized.
It really is,
Yeah.
and it highlights the need for more tailored approaches
Yeah.
to weight management in obese breast cancer patients.
Right. We can't just assume that one size fits all.
Exactly. We really need to consider the individual's genetic profile
Right.
and how that might influence their response to treatment.
Okay, so we've been talking about how obesity increases the risk of breast cancer
Right.
and how it can even make it harder to treat.
Yeah.
It's pretty sobering stuff,
It is.
but knowing this information is also empowering.
That's a great point.
Yeah.
Yeah, this knowledge helps us make more informed choices
Right.
about our health.
We're not powerless.
Absolutely not.
Yeah.
There's a lot we can do to tilt the scales in our favor.
Okay, so let's talk about some actionable steps.
Okay.
We touched on exercise earlier
Right.
and how it can help manage weight.
Yeah.
And even boost those good brown and beige fat cells.
Uh,
But you also mentioned that exercise strengthens the immune system.
yes.
How does that actually work?
Well, exercise is basically boot camp for your immune system.
Okay.
It improves your circulation,
Okay.
which allows those disease-fighting cells to move more freely throughout your body.
Right.
It also helps to flush out toxins that can suppress the immune system.
So better circulation, less gunk.
Exactly.
What else is going on?
Well, exercise actually increases the production of certain immune cells,
Okay.
specifically natural killer cells and T cells.
Okay.
And those are the ones that are key for fighting off infection.
Right.
And even those sneaky cancer cells.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
So exercise is a winner on multiple fronts.
absolutely.
But I think a lot of people get intimidated
Yeah,
by the thought of like intense workouts.
I know.
Is that really necessary to get these benefits?
Not at all. Consistency is more important than intensity.
Okay.
Even moderate activity, like brisk walking, gardening, or dancing,
Okay.
can make a significant difference.
That's reassuring.
Yeah.
So find something you enjoy
Exactly.
that fits into your lifestyle.
Yeah, and you don't have to train for a marathon
Right.
to benefit your health.
That's good to know.
Yeah.
Now let's shift gears to diet.
Okay.
We talked about the importance of healthy fats.
Right.
But can you give us a little more detail about the foods we should be eating?
Yeah, absolutely.
Like what should be on our plate?
So when it comes to those good monounsaturated fats,
Yeah.
olive oil is a star player.
I love olive oil.
Yeah, it's great. You
Yeah.
can use it for cooking. You can drizzle it over salads. You could even dip bread in it.
I do all those things.
Yeah.
What about avocados?
Avocados are another great source.
Yeah.
As are nuts and seeds like almonds,
Yeah.
walnuts, cashews, pumpkin seeds, sunflower seeds.
I eat all those.
There are so many delicious options.
I know.
Yeah.
What about polyunsaturated fats?
Yeah.
I know omega-3s are supposed to be really good for you.
They are fatty fish
Yeah.
like salmon, tuna, mackerel, and sardines.
Okay.
Are excellent sources of omega-3s.
Okay.
But if you're not a big fish eater,
Yeah.
you can also get them from plant sources
Okay.
like flax seeds, chia seeds, and walnuts.
I do eat those.
Good.
So lots of good fats,
Yeah.
fruits, vegetables.
Yeah.
Is there anything we should be avoiding or limiting?
Yes, the usual suspects.
Okay.
Processed foods, sugary drinks, and excessive amounts of saturated and trans fats. These all contribute to inflammation, weight gain,
Right.
and they can increase your cancer risk.
Just focus on whole unprocessed foods as much as possible.
Exactly. Choose those nutrient-rich foods that fuel your body and help it thrive.
It's simple, but it's not always easy.
It's true. Yeah, it takes effort.
Okay, so we've covered exercise and diet.
Yeah.
What other lifestyle factors play a role in obesity and cancer risk?
Well, stress is a big one.
Stress.
Yeah, chronic stress can weaken your immune system
Oh, wow.
and make you more susceptible to a whole range of health problems,
Yeah.
including cancer. And it also often leads to unhealthy coping mechanisms,
Right.
like overeating or not getting enough sleep.
Yeah, so it's a vicious cycle.
It really is.
How can we manage stress effectively in our daily lives?
There are so many great options.
Okay.
Exercise, as we've talked about, is a fantastic stress reliever.
Right.
Mindfulness practices like meditation and yoga are also really helpful.
I love yoga.
Yeah, it's great. Even just spending time in nature, listening to music,
Right.
reading a good book, or connecting with loved ones.
I like all of those.
It can do wonders for your stress levels.
So it's about nurturing our minds and our souls,
Yeah,
not just our bodies.
exactly.
And speaking of nurturing our bodies,
Yeah,
we talked earlier about sleep and how important it is.
right.
Can you remind us why sleep is so crucial?
Sure. Sleep is essential for so many reasons.
Okay.
It helps regulate hormones, it reduces stress, and it boosts your immune function.
Right.
And remember that melatonin we talked about?
Yeah.
The hormone that helps convert white fat to beige fat?
Mm-hmm.
Getting enough sleep
Well.
is key for maintaining healthy melatonin levels.
So those 7 to 8 hours a night,
Yeah,
that's not just about feeling rested. It's
Yeah.
about protecting ourselves.
it really is.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's preventative medicine.
I like that.
Yeah, make sleep a priority, not an afterthought.
Okay, before we move on,
Yeah.
I want us to circle back to something we discussed earlier
Okay.
about genetic factors. Uh-huh.
And how they interact with obesity
Right.
to impact cancer risk.
Yeah.
You mentioned the PIK3TA and TP53 genes,
Yes.
which play a role in how obese patients respond to treatment.
Mm-hmm.
Are there any other genetic mutations that researchers are looking at in this context?
Yes, there are a number of other genes that have been implicated in breast cancer development.
Yeah.
And we're learning more all the time about how obesity can influence their expression.
So it's an evolving field.
It really is. It's fascinating.
It is.
For example, mutations in the BRCA1 and BRCA2 genes are well-known risk factors for breast cancer.
Right.
And studies have shown that obesity can further increase the risk,
Oh, wow.
even in women who carry those mutations.
So even if someone has a genetic predisposition to breast cancer,
Yeah,
maintaining a healthy weight can still make a difference.
absolutely. It's all about mitigating risk.
Right.
We can't change our genes, but we can make lifestyle choices that can help protect us.
So it's about taking control where we can.
Now, you mentioned personalized weight management strategies for obese breast cancer patients.
Yes.
Can you elaborate on what that looks like?
Sure, it's crucial for those patients to work closely with their healthcare team
Right.
to develop a really tailored plan.
Okay.
And that might involve dietary changes, exercise behavioral therapy,
Okay.
and in some cases, even medication.
So there's no one-size-fits-all solution.
No, definitely not.
It's about figuring out what works best for each person,
Exactly. Taking into account their specific needs and circumstances.
their individual situation.
Precisely the goal is to achieve and maintain a healthy weight
Right.
in a way that supports their overall health and well-being.
Okay, so we've talked a lot about the negative aspects of obesity,
We have.
but is there any research to suggest that there might actually be benefits to being overweight or obese when it comes to cancer treatment?
That's an interesting question.
It sounds counterintuitive.
I know it does, right?
Yeah.
Because we've been talking about how obesity makes cancer more aggressive. But some studies have actually suggested
Oh, really?
that obesity might offer a protective effect
Wait, what?
in certain cancer types.
How could that be?
Well, the thinking is that obese patients might have higher levels of certain nutrients and hormones
Okay.
that could help them tolerate chemotherapy better.
Interesting.
Yeah. They might also have greater energy reserves,
Right.
which would allow them to withstand the side effects of treatment more easily.
So it's like having a bit of extra padding. Acts as a buffer.
Yeah, kind of.
So there might be a silver lining in some cases?
It's possible, but it's important to emphasize that any potential benefit
Right.
is far outweighed by the increased risks associated with obesity.
Right. It's definitely not a free pass to overindulge.
Definitely not.
Okay, so more research is needed
For sure.
to fully understand this complex relationship.
Absolutely.
Okay, I think we've covered an incredible amount of information already.
We have.
We've talked about the link between obesity and breast cancer, the role of genes and lifestyle factors,
Yeah.
and even touched on those potential benefits of obesity during treatment.
Right.
It's been a pretty dense conversation.
We've barely scratched the surface.
Okay, well, I'm ready for the next layer of the deep dive.
Great.
What are some of the more surprising and cutting-edge areas of research
Okay.
the scientists are investigating in this world of obesity and cancer?
All right, so before the break, I teased some really intriguing stuff about reprogramming fat cells to fight cancer.
That sounds almost too good to be true.
I know it sounds like science fiction,
Right.
but researchers are making incredible progress in this area.
Okay, I'm intrigued. Tell me more.
So one approach involves genetically modifying fat cells to produce anti-cancer agents.
So they're turning fat cells into tiny little drug factories.
Yeah, you could think of it that way.
I'm picturing like microscopic pharmacists whipping up batches of cancer-fighting potions.
That's a fun way to visualize it.
It is.
Essentially, these engineered fat cells are injected directly into the tumor site,
Okay.
where they then release these cancer-killing substances.
So it's a very targeted approach.
It is. Yeah, it
Like-
minimizes damage to healthy tissue.
But how do they make sure
Yeah.
that those engineered cells only target the cancer
Right, that's a critical question.
and not healthy tissue?
And it's one that researchers are working really hard to address.
Okay.
They're designing these cells to recognize specific markers that are only found on the surface of cancer cells.
So they can zero in on their target.
Exactly.
So what kind of like cancer-killing substances are they using in these fat cell factories?
Well, they're experimenting with a variety of different things,
Okay.
including cytokines, antibodies, and even toxins that specifically target cancer cells.
So these modified fat cells,
Yeah.
they're kind of a double whammy.
Yeah,
They both starve the cancer of fuel
right.
and then they attack it directly.
Exactly.
It's like taking out the enemy's supply lines
Uh,
and sending in a special ops team at the same time.
that's a great analogy.
It
It's
is.
a really promising approach
I love it.
that combines this targeted drug delivery
Yeah.
with the unique properties of fat cells.
So something that we usually think of as the enemy,
Right.
fat,
Yep.
can actually be harnessed as an ally.
It's amazing, isn't it?
It really is.
Yeah.
So what other innovative approaches are scientists looking into?
Well, another really fascinating area of research
Yeah.
is focused on manipulating what's called the tumor microenvironment.
Okay, I'm gonna need you to break that down for me.
Yeah.
What is the tumor microenvironment?
So think of it as the neighborhood where the tumor lives.
Okay.
It's made up of all the surrounding cells, the blood vessels,
Uh-huh.
the signaling molecules,
Right.
all these things that can influence tumor growth.
So it's like the tumor's support system?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And just like any neighborhood, it can be manipulated.
Okay, interesting.
So one strategy involves using drugs that block the formation of new blood vessels.
That makes sense because tumors need a good blood supply
They do, yeah. They need it to grow and spread,
to thrive.
right? So by cutting off their blood supply, we could essentially starve them to death.
Clever. Are there any other ways to disrupt this tumor neighborhood?
Yeah, researchers are also looking into how to reprogram immune cells within the tumor microenvironment.
Okay.
See, tumors have this really sneaky ability to suppress the immune system,
Oh, wow.
which makes it harder for our bodies to fight back.
So it's like the tumor is building a wall
Yeah,
to keep out our immune system's army.
that's a great way to visualize it.
Yeah.
And the good news is that scientists are finding ways to dismantle that wall
Okay.
and empower the immune system to attack the cancer.
This is all so incredibly complex.
It is.
But also so fascinating.
I know, it's a really exciting area of research.
I'm starting to understand how all these pieces of the puzzle fit together.
Yeah.
The fat cells, the immune system, the genetics.
It's all interconnected.
It really is.
It's this complex web of interactions.
Yeah.
And finding ways to tip the balance in favor of health is the ultimate goal.
And it seems like it all comes back to that idea of personalized medicine,
Absolutely.
tailoring treatments to the individual patient.
No two cancers are exactly alike.
Right.
And no two patients are going to respond to treatment in the same way.
Right.
So the future of cancer therapy really lies in understanding the unique characteristics of each person and their tumor,
Okay.
and creating strategies that are designed just for them.
So it's not just about fighting cancer anymore.
Right.
It's about outsmarting it.
Exactly. We're learning to use the body's own defenses,
Yeah.
like the immune system,
Right.
and even those fat cells,
Yeah.
to fight cancer from the inside out.
It's incredible to think that we could one day use our own fat to fight cancer.
I know, it's a remarkable turnaround.
It really is.
And as our understanding of this disease continues to evolve,
Yeah.
I have no doubt that we'll see even more groundbreaking discoveries and treatments emerge in the coming years.
This has been an incredible journey.
Yes.
We've explored so much
We have.
about the connection between obesity and breast cancer.
Yeah, from the cellular level to the genetic level.
Right, and all the amazing research that's happening.
It's really inspiring.
It is complex.
It is.
But it's also full of hope.
I agree. The research is truly inspiring,
Yeah.
and it gives me great hope for the future of both preventing and treating cancer.
So what's the most important takeaway for our listeners?
I think the key takeaway here is that you have power when it comes to your health.
Okay.
We can't control our genes,
Right.
but we can control our lifestyle choices
Right.
by making healthy choices like eating nutritious foods, exercising regularly, managing stress, and getting enough sleep. We can significantly lower our risk of developing obesity-related diseases,
Including breast cancer.
including breast cancer.
So
Exactly.
it's a message of empowerment.
It is.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're not just passengers along for the ride.
Right, we have the ability to make a difference.
Exactly. And remember, we're all in this together. By working together and supporting each other, we can create a healthier future for everyone.
Thank you so much for sharing your expertise with us today.
It's been my pleasure.
This has been an incredibly informative and thought-provoking conversation.
I agree.
And to our listeners, thank you for joining us on this deep dive into the world of obesity and breast cancer.
Yes, thank you.
We hope you've learned something new and feel inspired to take charge of your health.
Absolutely.
Until next time, stay curious.
Okay. I'm intrigued. Tell me more.
Well, one approach involves genetically modifying fat cells
Okay.
to produce anti-cancer agents.
So they're turning fat cells into like these tiny little drug factories.
Yeah, you could think of it that way.
I'm picturing like microscopic pharmacists,
Right.
whipping up batches of cancer-fighting potions.
It's a fun way to visualize it.
Yeah.
Essentially, these engineered fat cells are injected directly into the tumor site, and then they release these cancer-killing substances.
So it's very targeted.
It is, yeah. It minimizes damage to healthy tissue. But how do they make sure that the engineered cells only target the cancer
That's the critical question.
and not healthy tissue?
And researchers are working really hard to address that.
Okay.
They're designing these cells to recognize specific markers that are only found on the surface of cancer cells.
Oh, so they can zero in on their target.
Yes.
So what kind of cancer-killing substances are they using?
They're experimenting with a variety of different things.
Okay.
Cytokines, antibodies, even toxins
Wow.
that specifically target cancer cells.
So these modified fat cells, they're like a double whammy.
Yeah.
They both starve the cancer of fuel,
Right.
and then they attack it directly.
Exactly. It's a two-pronged approach.
It's like taking out the enemy's supply lines
Yeah.
and sending in a special ops team at the same time.
That's a great analogy.
I like that.
It's a really promising approach.
Yeah.
It combines that targeted drug delivery with the unique properties of fat cells.
So something we usually think of as the enemy,
Right.
fat, can be harnessed as an ally.
That's amazing, isn't it?
It really is. So what other innovative approaches are scientists looking into?
Another really fascinating area of research is focused on manipulating what's called the tumor microenvironment.
Okay, you're gonna have to break that down for me.
Sure.
What is the tumor microenvironment?
Think of it as the neighborhood where the tumor lives.
Okay.
It's made up of all the surrounding cells, the blood vessels, the signaling molecules, all these things that can influence tumor growth.
So it's like the tumor support system.
Exactly. And just like any neighborhood, it can be manipulated.
Interesting.
So one strategy involves using drugs that block the formation of new blood vessels.
That makes sense because tumors need a good blood supply.
They do. They need it to grow and spread.
Right, to thrive.
Exactly. So by cutting off the blood supply, we can essentially starve them to death.
Clever. Are there any other ways to kind of disrupt this tumor neighborhood?
Yeah, researchers are also looking into how to reprogram immune cells within the tumor microenvironment.
Okay.
You see, tumors have this sneaky ability to suppress the immune system,
Oh, wow.
which makes it harder for our bodies to fight back.
So it's like the tumor is building a wall to keep out our immune system's army.
That's a great way to visualize it.
Right.
And the good news is that scientists are finding ways to dismantle that wall
Okay.
and empower the immune system to attack the cancer.
This is all so incredibly complex,
It is.
but also fascinating.
You know, it's a really exciting area of research.
I'm starting to understand how all these pieces fit together.
Yeah.
The fat cells, the immune system, the genetics.
It's all interconnected.
It really is this complex web.
It is a complex web of interactions.
And finding ways to tip the balance in favor of health is the ultimate goal.
Exactly.
And it seems like it all comes back to that idea of personalized medicine,
It does.
tailoring treatments to the individual patient.
Absolutely no. Two cancers are exactly alike. And no two patients will respond to treatment in the same way.
Right, so it's not just about fighting cancer anymore, it's about
Yeah.
outsmarting it.
Exactly. We're learning to use the body's own defenses,
Yeah.
like the immune system and even those fat cells,
Yeah.
to fight cancer from the inside out.
It's incredible to think that we could one day use our own fat to fight cancer.
It is a remarkable turnaround.
What a concept.
Yeah. And as our understanding of this disease continues to evolve,
Yeah.
I have no doubt that we'll see even more groundbreaking discoveries and treatments emerge in the coming years.
This has been an incredible journey.
It has.
We've explored so much about the connection between obesity and breast cancer,
We have, from the cellular level to the genetic level.
and all the amazing research that's happening right now. It's really inspiring.
It is complex,
It is.
but it's also full of hope.
I agree. The research is truly inspiring, and it gives me great hope for the future of both preventing and treating cancer.
That's good to hear.
Yeah.
So what's the most important takeaway for our listeners? I think the key takeaway here is that you have power when it comes to your health.
Okay.
We can't control our genes,
Right.
but we can control our lifestyle choices.
Right, and by making healthy choices.
Exactly.
Like eating nutritious foods, exercising regularly,
Uh-huh.
managing stress, and getting enough sleep.
Yeah, all those things can significantly lower our risk of developing obesity-related diseases, including breast cancer.
So it's a message of empowerment.
It is. We're not just passengers along for the ride.
Right, we can make a
They
difference.
can, and remember, we're all in this together.
Yeah.
By working together and supporting each other, we can create a healthier future for everyone.
Well, thank you so much for sharing your expertise with us today.
It's been my pleasure.
This has been an incredibly informative and thought-provoking conversation.
Likewise.
And to our listeners, thank you for joining us on this deep dive into the world of obesity and breast cancer.
Yes. Thank you for listening.
We hope you've learned something new today and feel inspired to take charge of your health. Until next time, stay curious.
谢谢收看，健康生活关心您的生活健康，请订阅、点赞及转传。